Hey everybody, we are back for a limited PPTQ. We're sorted out by rarity here. It looks like we've got a couple of green-white options for a support style strategy. Let's sort it out by color, though, and see how deep everything gets. We're going to start with green-white so we can play the most rares, and it actually looks like our green and white are amongst our deepest colors, so that's pretty crazy. I do have 2 complete disregards and a grasp of darkness. That's pretty compelling in and of itself. What do I have for a top end on black? Okay, so I might have some black to void options. What would I be able to pair that? Well, let's take a look at green-white first. I think it's reasonably likely that we wind up green-white. Yeah, so far so good. That Reality Smasher is pretty sweet. I don't think I'll be able to play it if I play green-white. Okay, Stasis Snare, Spawnbinder Mage, Relief Captain, Hero of Gamafata, Step Glider, Isolation Zone, Lantern Scout, Sky Climber, Scythe Master, Protector, Aeronaut, Castigator, Searing Light. 23 playables. Wow. That looks pretty good. I mean, curve is decent. I don't have a ton of support effects. So, in that respect, maybe it's not the greatest thing ever. Black also looks pretty compelling, but the thing is that you'd usually pair the black with the white, and I don't really have the cards for black-white allies. Like I have no Calastria healers, I have none of the 2-mana 2/2s that tap, or cohort to gain life. So, I'd be playing black pretty much just for the complete disregards and grasp and filler. Like, if I did let's look at a devoid strategy and see what I might be able to do on that front. What I'll do is actually put these right here. Just kind of set this whole deck right there. So if I played a devoid strategy, I would play Sky Scourer, I believe. Shrieker's good. Sower's great. Translator's great. I'd probably try to pair it with red first. See how that looks. That's a playable card. Devouring Flames is good. Yeah, a little bit of a conflict here. I've got red cards. I mean, I've got like a red-black, the base of a red-black deck here. But yeah, even if I found a way to play, Reality Smasher, I have Mirror Pool, which is just sick. It's a great card, but I don't think there's enough cards for it. And my blue I took a look at, and it didn't look like I've got enough playables of any type. So I think my hand is pretty forced here. It's definitely green-white. It's just a question of whether or not it's green-white splashing 2 complete disregards. If I didn't have both Stasis Snare and Isolation Zone, I would probably be a little more tempted to do it. But I have both of those as well as Searing Light. So I think my removal situation is pretty good. And irrespective of the removal situation itself, I think that this deck is just a pretty solid strategy. Like, this looks like a pretty good version of this deck. It's very creature heavy. My only... yeah, that's actually something. So let's think about that. We do have Swell of Growth, which is a combat trick. Like, it's playable. It's not good. Vines of the Recluse might actually be better. It's probably better. So let's see if we can work that in somehow. This way we actually have like 2 combat tricks. What could we cut? Broodhunter Worm is not great, but it's a pretty good sized creature, and if you get like support onto it, it's actually very good sized. I think I like the Netcaster Spider in the main deck. I've only got one Nikindi Net, so I'm pretty weak to the sky. One Step Glider, one Netcaster Spider, and the 1/3. Those are like my only ways to stop flyers. Outside, of course, of the hard removal, Stasis Snare, Isolation Zone, sort of Searing Light. Inspired Charge might be a pretty good addition to the deck, too, actually, since I have so many creatures. Interesting. Yeah, the more I look at this, the more I feel like I need to play for going wide. Yeah, I don't particularly like the worm. And then I think I'm going to sideboard the vines. I might sideboard it out, or I'm sorry, sideboard it in and sub out lead by example, just as a cheap trick against a deck with flyers. I don't know, this might just be better though than this. The untap clause I didn't actually realize this card had when I first read it. That's a pretty powerful effect for 1 mana, actually. Like, your opponent can't play around it. If they're vulnerable to it, they're going to get got by it. I definitely don't want to cut any of this stuff. I don't want to cut allies because I've got the Grove Tender Druids. And a hero. I think it might have to be the spider. I don't really want to cut a cheap creature and add an inspired charge, though. My top end is just also strong. Yeah, I really like Scion Summoner in the deck. Like, looking at it as just a curve, it feels like it maybe should be a 3. I'm gonna cut the spider. God, that feels really bad. It feels like I'm leaving myself just... I guess, with the Vines of the Recluse in, it's basically the same thing. You know, I have one anti-air card either way. Either one of those makes my deck. So I think that's what I'm gonna go with. Got a sweet foiled blue-red land that I can't really get any use out of. Maybe we do want to take a closer look at a colorless deck using all 3 of the good colors for Devoid. Alright. Hold this deck. I didn't actually realize how good my mana was. All of this in. Might play Scour too. Play Boulder Salvo. Translator, Sower, Disregard, Maw, Disregard, Shrieker, Devour, Grasp, Hemorrhage. This deck looks kind of insane. No, this deck is not insane. This deck's just slow. Right. Put in 2 on first striker. It's pretty good at deterring attacks. Am I even playing blue right now, though? I have literally 0 blue cards. What am I going to play blue for, though? Really? Spell Shrivels. That's about it. That is uninspiring. So... yeah, this deck looks a little iffy. It's got a really powerful top end. You know, I could keep it in mind if I were to play against a deck which had like a mid-rangier aspect to it. You know, something really slow so that you could reliably just take your time to get on the board. I mean, this is just the start of the deck, so actually I would wind up having to play blue, I'm sure, because I am far off of the whole deck right now. Probably have to play the 2-3. Oh wait, no, I can play Envoys. That card's fine. Yeah, we'd have to be splashing Spell Shrivels, but, you know, splashing Spell Shrivel isn't actually really too bad. You know, we would need to exile for the Rune Processor in some way, and I don't really have any Devour, or Ingest rather, not Devour. I think this is an okay deck. It's got a lot of removal, and the mana's not bad. But I do think I like the green-white deck better. I think it's the easier deck to make. I think it's going to play out a little bit better in an average game, you know? Just put a bunch of dudes on the board and make them big. Get them down there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's sort it out by color, figure out our mana. Heavy white bias. 10-7, maybe? Got 6 extra white cards. I only need double green for a 7 drop. So yeah, 10-7. Stasis Snare and 3-4 drops. Yeah, they all need double white. So it wants 11-6. I think 10-7 is better. Because I would like to be able to cast my green spells, like, semi-frequently in the early part of the game. But that's the deck, and I think it looks pretty good. It's not insane, but it looks super solid, so we'll see how many wins we can rack up.